Welcome to the Journey of a Man podcast with your man, Dre Jordan. Have a really special guest with me today. The Journey of a Man podcast is for men to talk about our journey in life, which ultimately determines who we are or will become. The obstacles we face are real and often will derail us from our desired destination. This podcast gives us a platform to express ourselves about the journey we have experienced, our upbringing, relationship, marriages, fatherhood, careers, finances, spirituality, divorce, co parenting, and hopefully bridging our support for one another while respecting and uplifting other men and women. The trajectory for men must change, and together we can create a pathway to success. I'm really excited about my next guest. My next guest, Alan Radio Robinson. Allen was born of 1948 in Galveston, Texas. He enlisted into the U.S. Marine Corps, obtained a GED in 1967, and was honorably discharged in 1969. He married his beautiful wife, Eileen, of 47 years, and together they have one daughter, Danae. Allen worked various jobs from 1969 to 1981 when he landed a job with the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority in February of 1981, and as a mason and struck and represented employees as a shop steward in the local 689 ATU. Allen has had many life struggles that he has overcome and now evangelizes to men and women with future plans to teach financial literacy. I would like to thank my guest for joining me today. He has a wonderful life experience that ultimately his trajectory has determined who he is today. Alan, thank you for joining me today, man. I really appreciate you joining me. I called you and you did not hesitate to join me in this podcast today, man. So I just want to thank you first and foremost, brother.
Thank you, Andre. Always a pleasure. You have been a very bright and enlightened, a very diligent young man. I'm eager to participate in anything because you're all positive.
Man, I appreciate it, brother. We go back many years, man, over 30 years. And I'm going to say that when I first met you, um, I knew that you was a person that I honestly sit down and speak with that would give me some genuine answers. You didn't throw any fluff, you didn't lie to me about anything. And throughout my professional career, I depended on you. You representing local 689 union members, man, meant a lot to me because I was a local 689 member, still is, or still was. I paid my union dues, even though I became, management for 30 something odd years. I still paid my union dues because I really did believe in the union. But if it wasn't for you helping me to understand the different areas of the union, the different perspectives, the different rules and regulations, I don't know where I would have been. I mean, I probably would have struggled as well. But I had you in my pocket. I could call you at any time. You always answer the phone. You always respected me, and I really appreciate it, man. But today, what I'm trying to do is reach out young men. I'm trying to reach out young men because I see them nowadays. Their pants are down around their knees now. They're showing all their underwear. They're killing each other off, disrespecting our queens. Leaving the household. Abandoning all of their responsibilities. And I'm not saying all men. We do have a lot of young men now that I see are doing the right thing. We do. But we have an awful lot of our young men who are not doing the right thing, you know. And I know, just like it's all about the environment they are in, right? Sometimes they can't see outside of their environment. And I remember, when I took on a young kid, he lived in Brentwood. That was the first thing he said. Wow, because he'd never been outside of that environment. And he didn't know of anything else existing outside of his environment. So, but no, I want to thank you, man, for joining me and just tell me a little bit about, man, your upbringing. I know you had many trajectories in your life that you have overcome for sure. because if you didn't overcome them, you wouldn't be sitting here with me today. You know, so if you will, man, just tell me about just about you and your different trajectories in life.
You know, I think the number one trajectory, or one of the beginning trajectory, was I was raised by a single parent,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and she was no nonsense. You know, she was a discipline. I had a grandfather who was Christ centered. You know what I mean? And you had to you had to go to church. You had to say your prayers. You had to be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you don't do as I do. You do as I say.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that gave me a sound foundation. I didn't understand it then. I may not have appreciated it at that time. But all those that was passed on to my parents, they passed on to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I rebelled. I rebelled. I went along with the program. I was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. That's how you dress people then. You know, you didn't just Mr. So and so, Mrs. So and so. So respect was paramount
Mm-hmm.
growing up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was number one.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came to education, it was number one. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? You're just not gonna come in the house and flop down and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You went to school, you evidently you have some homework to do. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to be dealing with that task. And failure was not accepted.
Right.
If you had a problem, then the parents would take that up with the school system. In other words, there was no waiting to say school start in September. We're going to wait to June. November or something to find out why you're not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't happening.
Mm-hmm. They always
They're
follow
going to
up.
know right from the beginning. They're going to engage
Mm-hmm.
with the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the teacher was an ally, not an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
My parents would always side with the teacher
Mm-hmm.
because they know the teacher was doing a job to prepare me so I wouldn't be dumb,
Mm-hmm.
literally blind,
Mm-hmm.
crippled, cannot function in society.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was foundational for me. But, I'm going through the tender years. And then when I get into the teenage years, I'm going along with the program. And for some reason, I want to rebel.
Mm. Was it
Now,
peer pressure?
no, no
Mm-hmm.
peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
The peer pressure was at home.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only pressure. And that was
Mm-hmm.
the pressure of love.
Mm-hmm.
There was no other pressure.
Mm-hmm.
If that was a problem, it was resolved between the parents and whoever the problem was with. If it was
Mm-hmm.
another parent or if it was the school system, they worked together. The old saying, it takes a village to raise a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back then, it was absolutely necessary. You had the extended family, you had uncles, aunts, and neighbors. So you could do something which you thought was in the secret, but a neighbor, somebody saw it and reported, and it was dealt with. So
Mm-hmm.
you figure, man, in my life, when I was in the 10th grade, never done nothing wrong in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Just went along, was just an obedient child to
Mm-hmm.
the utmost. And so this particular day, I'm at the school and a guy got some Pale Male cigarettes. And he's smoking this cigarette and he handed it to me and I puffed on it. And man, when the school bell ring, I could hear it ringing in the distance. Ding, ding. I'm just sitting there like a dummy. I'm supposed to be heading to class.
Right.
I done got high off of this cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wandered off downtown. Instead of going, I wandered off downtown and they had a sign that said, "We need you."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, "We need you." struggled on in there. It was the United States Air Force recruiting office. So I go in there and talk to the guy. So the guy acting funny.
Mm-hmm.
He don't want to even give me the test. He said, well, what school you in? I said, well, I'm going to W.O. Boston. He looked at me like, no. And I'm saying, what's wrong? He didn't want to waste his time, but he eventually let me take the test.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the test, went on about my business. The guy called me up and he said, look, man, you passed the test. He said, but you must be 17 years old and a high school graduate.
Mm-hmm.
I was 17 years old, but I wasn't no high school graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So I had resolved in my mind, I'm going to get back in line, be very obedient and go, now look, this is not a matter of weeks of me acting up. This is a matter of days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying in my mind, I'm going to get back with the program. Man, about a week or so later, a phone call came in and my mother came in and she was upset. She said, what did you do? You didn't do anything them people asked you to do? I said, what are you talking about? She said, call this people. I called it was the United States Marine Corps.
Mm.
Now, understand it. I don't know nothing about the Marine Corps. I had no desire to be I didn't even know nothing about the uniform, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you took this test with the Air Force. He said, your scores look great. He said, come on down and, we can hook you up, give you for a physical. Sure enough, checked him out. He sent me. I went down, had a physical and everything. And next thing you know, I was joined with the United States Marine Corps. I was headed on a jet to San Diego, California.
Mm.
It was as if I had been plucked out of just in a matter of weeks. I was, how they call the rapture? It was almost like I was raptured out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. So I'm learning as I go along, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, I get there, land in San Diego, California,
Mm-hmm.
and I meet this drill instructor. And man, he's calling us everything but a child of God. Mm-hmm. Now I'm 17. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I ain't did nothing. I don't know this joker. I don't know nothing about this military thing. Mm-hmm. And man, it was crazy. But I realized what saved me, my mom was very disciplined. And look, you better get with the program. Mm-hmm. If you can't hang with the program, there's consequences. Mm-hmm. So that until saved me. I'm learning on the run though, because I've been a child and I've all instantly stepped into a man's world. Mm-hmm. And so here, these people are military, left, right, left. They don't tell you what time, we're getting up in the morning, we're going to run, we're going to exercise, boom, 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 boom. Structure. Insanity. That's how I took it anyway. I said, these guys, they're crazy. I thought mom was off the chain. In other words, what I did was I jumped out of the skillet right into the fire, not knowing, leaning to my own understanding. And wow, so now I'm a Marine. Mm-hmm. Now, they train you, jump rope, this, that. I know these people crazy, for real. Mm-hmm. Now, I go to training in San Diego, California. Now, this is infantry training. So I'm training in infantry. Training is over with. So I'm thinking, I'm going to the infantry. And when they called all the people named, they said, Robinson is going to NATTC, Memphis, Tennessee, aircraft maintenance. I've barely seen an aircraft. Flown on one once in my life, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking to myself, how do I get to aircraft maintenance? I don't know nothing about an aircraft. Went through the training, I'm getting homesick because I'm still 17. I'm still a child.
Mm.
I get homesick. I get depressed. I'm flunking out the class, you know? And some kind of way I find out, look, man, you passed this class, you can go home for 30 days. Man, the light bulb came, depression went out the window. I woke up, I got with the plan, I passed the course. When I graduated, the whole class was cheering for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Go home. I'm proud to be a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
Proud to be a Marine.
How long did you stay in?
I stayed in there 3.5 years. The journey was so wild that the government let me go 6 months early, convenience of the government.
Wow.
Now, you're supposed to do all your time.
What, 4 years, right?
4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But they let me go convenience of the government. So that means we had to have a little bumpy road, you know what I mean, for them to let me go.
Mm-hmm.
For their convenience.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I was a teenage sergeant. Matter of fact, I trained in Memphis. I went from Memphis to North Carolina, which was an experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm around all these aircraft. Matter of fact, we worked on an aircraft called the A6 Intruder. It was an all-weather attack aircraft. So I do that. I get bored in North Carolina. I volunteer for Vietnam. Now, this is when my innocence leaves me. When I hit Nam. I go to Nam, just there, it's hot. I said, man, this is crazy. When you shave, how you get all these bumps on your face?
Mm-hmm.
So I went into the doctor and told him, said, man, look, this is very abnormal. There's no way a man's face is supposed to look like this.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, well, look, man, what we're going to do, we're going to let you're going to have to go to the dispensary. That's the only place we have hot water, and you shave it. I'll go along with that program, but I'm still bumping up.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctor said, well, look, just shave every 3 or 4 days. So I tried that, but I'm cheating a little bit. Instead of 3 or 4 days, it might be 7 or 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
So man, they squawk, and I'm letting them know, look, man, I got a situation, I got a condition here.
Right.
So I said, look, this ain't gonna get. I need to make an appointment to see a dermatologist. So I go and schedule to see this dermatologist in Vietnam. I go see he looked at me and he said, okay, he gave me a little can. You know what that can was? Magic shaving powder.
Hmm.
I took that magic shaving powder and used it, and my face was smooth as a baby's rear end. But 3 days later, you thought I was in the ring with Tyson. Because it burnt my face up. I mean, as if my face had been rubbed on cement.
Kept it on too long.
I said, my God, what have you done to me?
Right.
He said, look, no more shaving for you.
Mm-hmm.
Give me this paperwork, says you don't have to shave. So I'm walking around. Now that started. In other words, they thought I was arrogant. They thought I was disrespectful. And I was Black on top.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I did everything that a Marine's supposed to do. I just didn't look like one.
Right.
And man, you don't understand the psychological pressure that it put on me. I'm smoking that good herb now to calm myself down. And you wouldn't believe how that happened. I was at Freedom Hill. Bob Hope showed up, to entertain the troops,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm up there watching the Bob Hope show, and it's all over with. I'm talking to this brother. This brother had a pipe, we talking, and he hit the pipe, and then he passed it to me. I didn't even smoke at the time. I took the pipe, I hit the pipe, and blew it out. I handed it back to him. We back and forth, back and forth. All of a sudden he had to go, I had to go. And on the way back, I heard about Billy Joe jumped off the Tallahassee Bridge.
Hmm.
That Herb had tuned me in. All the things that I had blocked out, that I was in Vietnam, I was in a danger zone, my environment, I'm just robotic. But when I hit that pipe, it opened every sense that I had. When I walked back to the hooch where I lived, I looked, I got Confederate flags hanging everywhere. My God.
What you say?
Over
Did I
here.
run into a KKK meeting?
Yes, no, I'm sleeping with the enemy. Man, I'm telling you, man, I'm listening to all this crazy music. And I said, my God. Because I had tuned all that out. That was all blocked out. But it's, behind that Irby Scurvy, it opened, I'm hearing everything. I'm really, and it dawned on me. Where in the world is Vietnam? And the revelation was, I don't know where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody died and I was left, I wouldn't know how to get back home. I'm lost.
Right.
Then shortly after that, they killed Martin Luther King.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that messed me up.
Mm-hmm.
That just spit me all out. I'm saying, wait a minute. What am I doing over here fighting for some people I don't know?
Mm-hmm.
And the man fighting for me has just been killed. And he's nonviolent.
Right.
I said, I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking, now, if they would have killed Malcolm, I would have understood. Because Malcolm would take your head off if you got wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But Martin, he was nonviolent. Why would anybody want to hurt him?
Mm-hmm.
And man, that threw me in the tails.
Yeah.
I started saying it loud.
Mm-hmm. The
I'm
same
like,
thing Muhammad Ali was saying. You remember his famous quote, "Why am I going to fight over Vietnam? What has Vietnam done to me?" Muhammad said, "I'm not going nowhere." Stood right on
right.
it. Mm-hmm.
But see, I came out of a vein of running away.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I was running away, but I was running away from that medicine that mom had for me at the house.
Mm-hmm.
Son, you better chill. You better take care of these books. You better come home. Ain't no partying for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to no dance or party. I'm going to school and I'm coming home. And that's what I rebelled against.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, wait a minute, it's got to be more than going to school and coming home. It's got to be. And my rebellion wasn't so look, to sum it all up in a short, my steps were ordered. It was all from the time I was in my mother's womb. Everything that happened up to that point was supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it did happen.
Mm-hmm.
The experience that I had, I was in a community of racism, but I didn't see no racism. But now I'm in the United States military and I see all that.
Mm-hmm.
This is supposed to be a fair, leveling ground. But now my eyes, what was concealed is now revealed.
Well, you needed that good ganja to open your eyes then.
Eyes and ears.
You was like, where am I?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was really literally like that. You know what I mean? That look, I already had the seed placed in me. I had a sound foundation that God is Lord.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather gave me that.
Mm-hmm.
Going to school gave me a sense of patriotism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to defend this thing called freedom.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I didn't have a problem with volunteer. Well, after I got in and I knew what was going on, I volunteered to go to Vietnam. They didn't draft me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I volunteered to go to Vietnam.
Right.
And
So
I had more. Huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had more problems with the Marines than I had with Charlie.
Mm-hmm. Right. Look,
You know.
so fast forward a little bit.
Yeah, let's fast forward. Where we
After you
going?
after you have after you got out of the military, you were searching. You worked various
Oh,
jobs.
I was
You
a
was,
mess when I came out of the military.
hmm And then you had little struggles. Tell us
Man,
what
did
that.
I have some struggles? Did
Mm-hmm,
I have struggles?
mm-hmm,
Man, I was confused. I was getting high. Uh, I mean, I had a lot of resentment for the military in my heart. I
mm-hmm,
looked at them like the enemy.
mm-hmm,
Anything that was left, right, left, I didn't want no parts of. Anything in a uniform, I didn't want nothing to do with. And my employment, I get a job, I quit it. Boom, job after job. Security at Howard University. Medical records, it wasn't Howard, it was Freeman's Hospital. That's in 69. Freeman's Hospital. And then it converted to Howard University. Uh, GSA, couldn't hold that. US Post Office, couldn't hold that. I mean, I've got a GI Bill. I'm trying to go to school. I'm enrolled, but my mind is on the other side of town.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Did you have anybody to help you navigate that?
No,
You need a male to help you navigate
no,
those turbulent
no,
water?
no, no
Right,
one.
right.
I did have someone. His name was Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
He knew me, but I didn't know him.
Right, right.
Because surely I should have been taken out,
Mm.
but it wasn't in the plan. You know what I
Mm-mm,
mean?
mm-mm,
It wasn't in the, so I wondered. I met my beautiful wife, and that was a godsend. You know what I
mm-mm,
mean?
mm-mm,
And I struggled with that, but she wasn't. She had that kind of agape love. She was young, naive,
mm-hmm,
and then she became a mother, and all that naiveness went out the window.
mm-hmm,
Man, you're gonna have to shape up. You know what I mean? You're a father. You need to find you a job.
mm-hmm,
So I finally, and I did through the post office stuff and all that. So I get into construction.
mm-hmm,
There was an organization called Project Bill. Now, that man might have been my structure because I realized I got to learn how to do something because I'm a father.
mm-hmm.
I need a skill or something.
Right.
And so I'm down at the unemployment office, and a brother's in line. And what's happening, brother? What's going on? How you doing? He said, man, I'm going down there to this Project Bill and sign up. I said, well, what is that? He said, first in Cape Northeast. I said, I might check that out. So I sure enough, I checked it out. And what they were doing, they were training young black men to be carpenters, electricians, plumbers, welders, cement finishers. Did they have plastering? Steam fitting and welding.
Mm-hmm,
So I go in, you had to take a test. You took a test, and they put me in a steam fitting class.
mm-hmm,
But when they gave a presentation, each instructor gave his presentation. This man who was a cement finisher, he impressed me so well. He was telling me, he said, man, look, this cement finishing thing is hard work. It's really hard work. He said, but it's hard, but it's fair. He said, you can make it what you want to make it.
mm-hmm.
Man, I was so impressed by the brother. I wanted to be a cement finisher. And man, I gave the instructor so much problems in the steam fitting class. He went and begged that instructor, can you please take him
Mm-hmm.
and get him out of my class?
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, he did. Now, here I go again. I don't know that cement finishing is supposed to be like for the dummies. The brothers who've been in jail, incarcerated or something, who didn't finish school. I fit all that. I got a GED when I was in the military, but I dropped out of school. I hadn't been in jail enough, but it was like, why would you pick that? Because the man representation was so strong and it impressed me so much. I figured that's what I wanted to do. And man, I went at that tooth and nail.
Great decision.
All the easy stuff God had placed in my life, I messed up. But this one here that put calluses in your head, where you had to bend your back and be on your knees and get it. Because you know, see, man, it's time sensitive.
Right.
You don't have time to scratch your head about it. You got to get it.
It's not
If
going,
you don't get it, it's going to get you, huh?
It's not going to wait for you. The cement is not going to wait for you.
It's not going to wait for you. That's for sure. And man, when the brother went and became a cement finisher, that's the skill that got me to Metro.
What year was that?
Huh?
What year was that?
That was
81.
you mean when I got to Metro?
Yeah, February 1981, right?
February 19 when I got, but I had developed the skill before I even got there, maybe about 5 or 6 years before I even got to Metro. And how I found Metro, I had taken my wife to the emergency room and they kept her overnight. And I always would look in the paper for a job. I always was seeking opportunity. Most cement finishers didn't look for a job like that. They only went to a hiring hall, walked to a site. Well, I did those things too, but I would always look in the newspaper, the job count, see what's available. And this particular, when I got home from that emergency room with my wife and admitting her, at a newspaper, and I looked in there, and there in the paper says, Metro needed a cement finisher. That's me. I was working on the Michigan Avenue Bridge, that bridge that takes you across Michigan Avenue. I was working on that bridge. And the next day, I'm not going to Michigan Avenue to work. I went to the police department, got a police clearance. I got my driver's records. I filled out the application. I put all that package together and sent it to Metro. And it wasn't required for me to do no police clearance. It wasn't required for me to do no driver's record. But I was so determined that I seen the promised land because I was looking for a steady Freddy. You know, in construction, when it rains, you don't work. If it's too cold, you don't work. If it snows, you don't work.
Right.
I said, I need a steady Freddy in my life. And Metro.
Health insurance. No, you needed health insurance and all.
I wasn't even thinking about it. I just need a steady stream of income. I don't want no dips. I want a straight flowing. I'm available for work. I just want work to be available for me. But those other benefits came along with it, like you say, health insurance, sick leave, vacation time. But my mind at that time wasn't to focus on all that. Just give me a steady stream of income and I can take it from there.
Right.
And so, you know, that kind of cured all my illness. You know what I mean? Steady employment. See, because you need income to feed yourself, to clothe yourself. See, when you don't be able to achieve these things, it leaves you on the wrong side of the street. It leads you to selling drugs. It leads you to stealing. It leads to robbery. It leads to embezzlement because it's fundamental. You know, money was designed so you could get food, shelter, and clothing. That's the basic purpose of money, not to buy fancy cars and clothes, but to be able to feed yourself, clothe yourself, shelter yourself. You know, you can get as fancy with those things as you want. So I finally got a steady source of employment and I stayed faithful to that employment. Matter of fact, the employment was so structured, you couldn't smoke no. Well, when I first got there, they would convict you on what you had on you and not in you.
Right.
And shortly thereafter, the rules changed. Not only do we want to know what's on you, we want to know what's in you.
Right. Right.
And man, that means I can't smoke no more weed. I quit
Right.
that immediately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I never did like alcohol too much anyway, so I ain't had no problem with it. But I cold turkey for the weed, and man, that set my sail. But I realized between the military, between meeting that brother in the cement world, where I had to be disciplined to fight with that cement,
Mm-hmm.
and all those steps, the military, meeting him, prepared me for Metro. And hard times prepared me for Metro.
Mm-hmm. The different trajectories you went through, man. I'm telling you, it really does. It really does dictate who you all will become for sure. And your different trajectories have done that for sure.
And my mother instilled in me, I've seen my mother always help people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the shop steward came in. You know, I had learned a major lesson in life. See, most people want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn the lesson that it's not enough to be right. You must be right, but you also must be reasonable. If you're right and unreasonable, it's not going to work out.
Mm-mm.
So that was a major lesson that, so when I got to Metro, I got there and I said, man, I see things ain't right around here,
Mm-hmm.
but I got to prove myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be here the first day on the job and tell them y'all doing this wrong and y'all doing that wrong because I've learned my lesson.
Mm-hmm.
I sat there for a year, went along with the program, showed up on time, did my job. And after 1 year, I done proved myself. I'm saying, I'm starting writing now. This ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't. Got
Mm-hmm.
us promoted, got a raise. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Had to go through hell. And you know, it just gave me a heart to see brothers because even seeing people, when I saw men, I didn't see them, I saw their family.
Right.
If you mess up on this job, you're hurting, you ain't hurting the company, and you're not really hurting you.
You
You're
heard your
hurting your
family.
sons, your daughters,
Mm-hmm.
your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people in jail. So when I saw an employee, I didn't see him. I
Mm-hmm.
saw his family. So
Mm-hmm.
when I step to him and talk to him, I'm trying to let him see, look, you got to see the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
really is not about you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they wrong, they wrong. Listen, two wrongs don't make a right. You're gonna be wrong if you get unemployed from here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew what unemployment was about. I had been
Mm-hmm.
unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
I had quit jobs that I should have kept.
Right.
You know
And
what I
you
mean?
you also help the youngins, and even myself as far as financially back then by telling us how to invest. Oh one. Man, what are you doing? Man, I remember sitting down talking to you about that. And I remember when you first started yours. And that's what you were talking about. And I heard the best thing about you as a shop steward, man, is that which I think they struggle today is this. You tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, right?
Amen.
Because we have so many of those, we have so many union employees who will do wrong, guilty, know they've done wrong, but still won't admit it, right? And the shop steward will defend them to no end, know that they have done wrong. Not all shop stewards, but some. And one thing as a manager, what we like seeing is for the shop steward to come in and say, hey, look, he was wrong, 100%. What can we do to get this right? Me, that's what I look forward to. Okay, this is what we need to do. Instead of
Amen.
discipline, instead of suspension, okay, this is what we need to do. And then give them a time frame to do it within. But that was one thing about you is that that's what you did. You come to the table. Hey, look, man, look, he was wrong, but this is what we're gonna do to get it right. Um,
Amen.
and we can appreciate that about you. And you was a shop steward for how many years?
Man, I stayed shop steward about 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped shop steward. The one reason why I stopped shop steward because I had gotten to a point where I did all I could do and I needed the people. I'll never forget the incident. I was down at the Union Hall. You remember when the brake dust was going through?
Mm-hmm.
And remember that we got the masks, we
Mm-hmm.
breathed and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I'm down at the Union Hall telling them how this black stuff is going into people's nostril and it's terrible and it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy asked me, he said, Radio, he said, do you do that kind of work? I said, no. He said, well, what are those people that are going through all that? And nobody was there but me.
Mm, 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 mm.
So
Yeah.
I'm the only voice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fighting for people who don't want to fight for themselves. And so I decided, I said, look, I've carried the ball as far as I can.
Right.
If I continue in this process and I can't get no help from y'all,
Right.
then I'm a prostitute. I'm just taking this union money just to be taking the union money.
Mm.
And so
Wow.
I can't do no more without you, because when I go down there, I only have one vote.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I bring an issue up to protect you,
Nobody behind me.
and nobody there but me.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
I came on out and
Right.
said I didn't carry the ball as far as I can go.
Look, man, a stellar career for sure. Metro was able to retire.
My
Now,
God, my God.
now enjoying the fruits of your labor. So you most definitely know what I'm talking about when I talk about our young men who are lost nowadays, right?
Yeah.
We see it, we hear about it every day on the news. What do you think we need to do to help these young? I mean, you are taking a step, and I always tell people, if we just reach one, we're doing our job. What do you think we need to do? People don't know. I call you Yo. I call you Radio.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But look,
if I say Yo, it's still the
yeah,
same.
yeah. Look, I think you got churches going into prisons. You got I've been in a homeless ministry and you minister there, but we come into the aid kind of late to the game. Those people that do that are doing that. Where men need to be present is at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They need to be present to those young men that are in the homeless shelter when they 5, 6, 7. That's when the seed is planted.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you get 11, 12, it didn't germinated. So you got something to work with. But we come to the party late, you know what I mean? We come, the tree is grown.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to it's a wrestle to bend the tree the right way.
Right.
So my thought is for men to participate with the younger men in their younger years and develop.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thinks about that. They think about you after you get in trouble. I think the solution is to mentor to you before you get in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, catch them before.
Absolutely. Before. Let them see what a man looks like. Mm-hmm. Let them know that there's honor in work. Mm-hmm. Plant the seed early and then it can germinate. Right. But when you come now, we got all these broken homes and they don't have that foundation. They don't see a man, they see mom. Mm-hmm. Mom is overwhelmed. They're not as strong as Black women earlier. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are strong. Mm-hmm. But that's what I see, mentoring and giving them a foundation. I had a foundation. You had a foundation. You know what I mean? My foundation was Christ, and I didn't even know it. You know what I mean? Yeah, but it gave me time to come back because the seed was planted.
Right.
Once the seed is planted, you might get away from it, but you got something to come back to. We don't have that today. We have children raising children. Exactly. And the blind cannot lead the blind. So as Black men, we need to be helping the worst of the worst. And one of the most critical situations you can have in life is homeless. You're homeless. Mm-hmm. You're at the bottom of the pole now. Mm-hmm. You're poor. See, poor is not when you can't pay a bill. You're poor when you can't put food, shelter, and clothing on your back or children's back. Mm-hmm. You are poor. Mm-hmm. But today, people think they're poor because I don't have a Porsche. They think they're poor because I'm not wearing Lucci, Gucci, and Uchi. No, 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 you're not poor.
Right.
You got a roof, you got food, you got employment. You're not poor. You might be a bad manager, but you ain't poor. But
Right.
those who cannot feed themselves and clothe themselves and no roof, they are poor. And so we need to go to, we need to go in it, huh?
Go ahead.
We need to address that poverty because that's where it all stemmed from. Because now the young kid, I want them Nikes. Mama ain't got the money for it. I'm hungry. Mama ain't got the money for it. We cold in here, and we may be put out because we here carrying the stick, as the old folks say. And so all this breed, all this drug selling, prostitution, stripping,
robbery, just like you said.
Robbery, all that stems out of that financial need. Money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. Money is a tool that we all need. You know, so when you learn how to be able to get this together, so that's where we got to go down at the beginning and teach at the poverty, where poverty really is where the root of the problem. See, we don't know nothing about poverty. You don't know nothing about poverty. I don't know nothing about poverty. You know what I mean? But when you don't have nothing to eat on your table and look around and don't see no source whatsoever, can you imagine being 13 or 14 years old and your mama and your sister hungry? What that might do, what that might lead you to do? And there's no father. None. These young men think they bumblebees. They're out here trying to pollinate all these sisters with no responsibility.
None.
Now, I can't put it all on the brothers because the sister got to have some common sense. There are so many things you can do to prevent this.
Right.
So, I mean, we have, I like to say it like this: no one can save us from us but us.
Right.
We got to address this poverty issue.
Yeah.
That's the root of all these problems is poverty and mental illness. Now, that's a whole nother situation, mental illness, but poverty will make you do things that you think you wouldn't have thought you'd have done.
But you look, when you speak about the mental illness, we think about the pandemic and how much it's affecting us now too, as well. This pandemic is ravaging families, and the mental illnesses that folks are going through now, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be overwhelming. But to go back to what you were saying, what you were saying about we have to get to the youngsters, the young kids, right? I think it's also imperative that we get to the parents, to the fathers, because even though they are missing out of the home, they need to know how important it is for them to be around their kids and be in their kids' life.
Oh, that's a fact.
Even
That's a
when you
fact.
think that it's not going to work between you and your wife, or you and your spouse, or you and your girlfriend, whoever, you still have a responsibility, whether it's your boy or your girl, right? You still have that responsibility. So I think it's imperative that we reach them, to reach back to their kids, to be more involved in their lives. But I think it's also imperative, just like you said, to reach out younger men, because that's where it's going to change.
That's the change spot.
Yeah.
But to speak to that narrative about being with your kid, you need the audience to do that. And most of the time, when you get that audience, where's that audience? You either going to a prison, you're going to a detention, or he's been, he's coming out of that situation and he's some kind of training program or something. And then you get the opportunity to speak to him.
Mm-hmm.
See, we don't get a chance to speak to him before the fact. We're always speaking to him after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
That this is what you should do. You
Mm-hmm.
should be, but he's so deficient in his thinking that when I separate from the wife, or not the wife, but the woman, I done sowed my seed, I done had my pleasure, the enemy allows amnesia to set in.
Mm.
I don't connect with a responsibility with the child because I'm not with the woman.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're speaking to him in prison or in jail. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're speaking in, or he's coming out of one of those situations when you're speaking to him. And he
Mm-hmm.
has so many problems. Number one, when you come out of prison, it's much better now. Like the brother said on one of your previous podcasts, look, if you had anything on your record, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
A little joint, having a joint would be a major problem. You couldn't come to Metro if you had that on your record.
Right.
You couldn't come if you had any kind of felony on your record
Mm-hmm.
or misdemeanor. Although they say they may not hold it against you, if they got somebody that don't have nothing and you got something, who you think they're gonna pick?
The one
So
who has. Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, that's a great message to tell young men that you need to be. It's hard for him to be something that he never had demonstrated in his life.
Mm-hmm.
He never was father, so he don't know how to be a father. You know,
Right. Right.
I mean, it ain't no excuse, but I mean, they need to connect with their children. And then I say women got to bear some responsibility too.
Absolutely. But that's where we have to break the generational curse. It have to be broken, right? You can't continue to spiral like that. So that's why I'm created this podcast, man, just so that we can reach some youngsters, so we can reach the men who abandon their responsibility. I think it's imperative. We got to start somewhere, bro, because it's not
But
looking
the
good.
question is, where do you start? You meet them where they are. You might meet them in the prison. You may, they're on the streets doing their thing. You ain't gonna meet them. I mean, you might have to take it to the street then. You know what I mean? You got to go where the problem at its greatest depth, where they're slinging.
Right. It starts right here with the dialogue. That's why
And them being homeless, that is a problem. Like you said earlier, if you can't keep your pants up, if you don't have that seed of that much, look, there's nothing wrong to have that style when you're hanging in with your buddies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't go out into employment world with that style.
Right. Right.
You could be a bright, intelligent young man, but if you come in there with your pants hanging down to your knees, you're gonna be rejected.
Right. But yo,
Swag ain't gonna get you in.
radio. I think it does. It starts with the dialogue that we're having. Like I've had so many men on that are doing wonderful things right now to the community, or in the community, should I say, to help our inner city kids understand that there's more than what you see. I know
That's
you
right.
saw the interview with Stan Richards and Curtis and Melvin and
There you
all,
go.
even my pastor, my dad. It's something that these guys are doing right now to give back to the community, to help us break this generational curse.
You
Um,
know, I go to the homeless shelter. I uh, I've been in a prison ministry before, and matter of fact, a guy I was going to the church, this church I'm at now. He said, "Well, won't you go try the prison ministry?" And I said, "No, I don't think I want to do a prison ministry. I want to do a generator ministry that'll help keep you from going to prison."
mhm,
And that's where the financial literacy come in.
mhm,
Time is precious, Audrey.
absolutely.
And if you can invest your time at the beginning, and someone caught you at the beginning and pointed you in the right direction, what to do with time, explain to you how important is time, Who created time? Who created you in the beginning?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't got away from fundamentals. You know what I mean? I mean, we have leaned to our own understanding so bad, like Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is the reason for the season, but that's lost. Now, you were taught that. I was taught that,
Mm-hmm.
but they're no longer teaching that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they think it's all about Jordans and cars and clothes
Right.
with somebody's name on it. And so we have to restructure the conversation and say, look, this is not, it's not what it is. Because as long as you got a wrong value system, money is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Money is not everything. I will not do anything. You know the saying on the street, all money ain't good money.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's
So,
what we learned. We learned that all money ain't good money. You change your life around. You learn that, look, I don't have to just sell drugs to make money.
mm-hmm.
I get a job. I can't be lazy now. You know, early bird gets the worm. I mean, these are foundational principles that men need to have in their lives. I
Right.
guarantee you, when you were coming up, your dad didn't let you just lay in the bed, did he?
No, sir. No, sir.
I don't think you could go to school and come back with some flags all up and down that report card. No.
Hey, look, not with a dad who was stood at about 6'4", 6'5", and his fist was big as your head.
Well, that's
No,
what
sir.
I'm talking about. He ain't having that.
Mm-mm.
So we got to lay blame at the caretaker of the kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whoever is the steward over the kids, like you say, you might have to reach them.
Right. Right.
Because they're going to be with the kid.
Right.
See, we're coming in like interjecting here and there, but here's the caretaker.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, what are you? What is your stewardship over your children?
Mm-hmm.
Now, where I live, and probably where you live, when they go to school and those school systems, if that kid don't show up to school, they call in a parent.
Right.
If that kid consistently still not coming, they're going to visit the parent.
Right.
And find out what's wrong. They know that the root problem is here.
Mm-hmm.
And what they find out sometimes, there's unemployment, there's drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that county provides provision to correct that situation.
Right. 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 Yeah, man. Look, in closing, brother, if you can, tell me what God has done for you throughout your different trajectories in life, because that's what we lean mostly on. And you're still here in front of me.
Yes, sir.
So he has shown you his favor and his mercy for sure.
My God, my God. Listen, I'm 73 years old.
Mm.
God has showed himself abundantly, above more than I could think or ask.
Mm.
From the time I was a baby in my mother's womb, he covered me.
Mm-hmm.
From Vietnam, he covered me. When I got to Metro, he covered me. In my retirement, he's covered me. And he said, look, I didn't just bless you, Allen Robinson, just so you could be blessed. I bless you so you could be a blessing to others.
Mm. Mm.
So I'm telling you, I don't have any degrees, Andre.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a GED man.
Mm-hmm.
But God has provided me a PhD experience.
Mm-hmm.
He made me the head and not the tail. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God is foundational, man. He's the author and finisher of all this, but we are separated from God.
Mm.
We're a nation that was foundation on godly principles.
Mm-hmm.
but we no longer say, they say we're not even a Christian nation no more.
Mm.
So we're seeing some of the effects of our leaning to our own understanding.
Right.
Animals do not define nature, but man is leaned to his own understanding.
Mm.
Up is now down. Truth don't matter.
Mm.
Facts don't matter. You see, I mean, so we're in a very crisis, but God is in control.
He is. He is,
He,
brother.
he is in control.
He is.
But
I see.
he look, he's blessed me, man. I mean, it's amazing. It it blows my mind how much God has done in my life. He sustained me with life. First
Right.
of all,
Right.
he woke me up this morning.
Right.
He got me talking to a brother here, trying to help a brother
Right.
and a sister.
Right.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. You are blessed to be a blessing. And in this process, we're trying to bless and give back.
Right. Exactly. Just like you
It's
said,
not about me. It's not. It's
it's not
about.
about us. It's about what we can do for others, brother.
That's right. That's right.
So,
That's why you're blessed. You're
yep.
blessed.
So I thank you, man, for joining me, man. I just want to say, man, it was a great, great conversation that we had, and I appreciate it. It was enlightening, educational. I'm hoping that people who tune in, man, will show it to their sons, to their daughters. And just the other day, I was talking to my wife, and she said, "Believe it or not, more women are looking at your podcast than men, probably, because they trying to figure you out, right?"
Listen, you're trying to shine light in a dark place. You're
Mm,
trying to bring men to participate in the process.
hmm.
It takes men to help men. And so this is a great vehicle where you're lending a voice to men, where we can come up with ideas and solutions to help our young men.
Right,
Because
right,
it is a big leap from childhood to adulthood.
right, right. Right. No, I appreciate it, brother. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And as always, man, we will stay in contact. And again, I tell everybody that I've interviewed, man, once this pandemic lifts and we can go out here safely and be among each other, man, I'm going to put together a panel and go around, just like you said, to prisons, to shelters, to kids who just don't have, show
There
them
you
the that it is possible. And again, just like you said, God is our foundation. You know, we got to get back to that. We got to get back to that.
we
So
got
I
to
just
get
want to
that.
thank you. I want to
Well,
thank you,
look,
brother.
thank you for inviting me to this. I enjoyed it immensely. And I'm joining to when the pandemic, we can get together. Listen, I want to leave you with this one. I've learned that I don't let time be a discouragement. I'm
Mhm.
73. I'm just as viable and ready to participate as I was when I was 23.
Right.
I'm better at 73 than I was at 23.
Oh man.
I'm more enlightened.
Right.
I have inner vision, insight, and foresight. Thank you,
And
Jesus.
and willing to share.
And willing to share by all means.
Absolutely. All right, brother. I love you, man.
I love
Hold
you
on,
too,
man.
Dre.
Hold on after this. We're gonna chop it up.